Creamer Bros, talking about the risers and the fallers. First, we'll cover the risers and Manchester United coming up in the table. Won 4 of the last 5, 3 in a row, the first time for Ruben Amorim and his team. So when we think about a health check, I'm giving them a grade of good. Doing well, moving up the table, looking like they have better structure, still giving up goals, so that's a little bit of a concern. But when we see Mbeumo and Cunha both scoring in the same game, then that's a really good sign for Manchester United, which is what we saw against Brighton. What are your thoughts?
United, they're building momentum at the right time. Amorim has seemed to turn things around at Old Trafford. Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo getting on the score sheet. So that can only be a good sign, of course. Defensively, there's still a question. But I think the game against Liverpool seemed to be a turning point in terms of their confidence, and going forward they might be the surprise team for one of the Champions League spots, possibly. I say good as well for United. Cautious with this United team because they do tend to defy expectations at times, but as of right now things are looking good.
I think Champions League would be a little bit of a stretch for this team, particularly because of the defensive frailties. We know that Lisandro Martinez will come back and hopefully shore up the back line, but we can't rely on him being fit for the remainder of the season. For that reason, I think a good result for Manchester United would be finishing in a European place, a Europa League spot. Tottenham, a team that's sitting currently in 3rd place. We have Thomas Frank as the new manager, some new blood, Muani. We have Xavi Simons, Mickey van de Ven looking really strong at the back, scoring 2 goals this weekend against Everton away. Looking like a side that from week to week, you're not sure what you're going to get, but when you play the law of averages, they're doing very well. Up in 3rd, do you see them as a grade of good or fair or even great given what we were expecting coming into the season?
I'd give them a good plus, actually. Because I think from where they were last season, it's been a remarkable turnaround brought about by Thomas Frank. He's brought structure and organization to the team. They're scoring a lot of goals. Defensively looks solid. So I think they've done very well. Obviously, the new signings have made a difference, and in particular, Kudos and Paulinho. Still need a bit more from Xavi Simons. I think he needs to come up to speed, get his Premier League weight up, but obviously a talented player. Up front, Kolo Muani is just getting into the team. We'll see what he can produce. I think the only issue for me with Tottenham is the front line. Richarlison, Tell, and Kolo Muani. I don't think there's enough consistency there. But the rest of the team looks great, and if they can get Kudos providing an offensive threat, I think they're going to be fine.
You mentioned Paulinho. He's forming a really strong partnership with Bentancur. I would give them a good as well. Maybe not great, maybe if they were in the first 2 spots. But I see them finishing potentially in the top 4 and a really strong chance of them finishing in a European place. How about you?
Yeah, I think Tottenham will be one of the teams that will be there or thereabouts for Champions League spot, undoubtedly. I think this is the season that they've returned to the top of the pile. So I think they can finish in the Champions League spot.
Okay, and we go to the obvious selection for a riser, which would be the team at the top of the table. Arsenal haven't given up a goal in several hours, shutting out teams, barely even giving up more than 1 shot per game. Can any team stop Arsenal? Obviously, I think if we're talking about a grade, they're doing great, absolutely going to finish in the top 4. The question is more about how strong do we feel about their title credentials? You being an Arsenal supporter, are you ready to put a stake in the ground and say, this is your year?
Absolutely. This is the year for Arsenal. Absolutely. I can say that with full confidence right now. Of course, things can change, but all indications are that Arsenal are running away with the title. Last season, the difficulty that they had was they had too many draws. That really hampered their campaign. This season, their defensive solidity is really remarkable and will be the thing that takes them to the title. We know that they struggle to score goals, with Victor Gyökeres being the hitman up top, not really hitting. They will continue to struggle for goals, but I think their set-piece prowess has obviously added an element to their game, an unstoppable element almost. They have enough confidence and know-how to get over the line in tight games, and I think this will be the difference for them. They'll win the games that they drew last season.
Yeah, I think you're right. The ability to turn those draws into wins is huge. They kind of remind me of a Jose Mourinho Chelsea team where Jose Mourinho used to say winning 1-0 is the most beautiful scoreline you can have. And I see Arsenal kind of embodying that mindset So, of course, I see them as not only contenders, but title favorites. And I'd be surprised, frankly, to see any other team at the helm at the end of the season. We can't forget about the other teams who are doing well. We know that Bournemouth are in the top four, sitting in second place behind Arsenal by only 4 points. They have some good midfield attacking players. Kluivert, Semenyo was looking unstoppable at the beginning of the season. He's slowed a bit. The defense, very strong. Senesi has really made a name for himself in this short period of time. And Iraola proven to be what many would consider to be, a top manager now. So Bournemouth, I would have to give them a grade of great. Even though they did well last season, they're doing even better despite losing some of their key defenders, Dean Howson being the most notable one. They've just kept it moving. And they had injuries at the beginning of the season. Kluivert just came back into the team in the last few weeks, but they've been able to chop and change. It's more about the structure and the identity that the manager brings to the team. Hardworking team. I give them a grade. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think what Iraola has done has been incredible with the talent that he has. Their high pressing system has been a revelation, and they can battle with the best of them. We see them beating the top teams. The only issue for Bournemouth that I can potentially see that would disrupt their season is bids coming in for Semenyo in the transfer window, because I really do think that that's very likely. He deserves the attention. He's a big game player, and I'd like to see him, not to say that Bournemouth is not a big team, but I would like to see him on the big stage. I think he deserves a move to a really high-profile team. So if he stays, their prospects for the season are great. Obviously, the quality that they have off the bench isn't at the same level as the other big teams, and I think that would be the worry for them, particularly if they do lose Semenyo. But as of right now, it's great. Absolutely.
I agree. And for the end of the season, I don't know. I know they've done well so far, but I'm picking them to lose momentum at some point in the season and drop out of Europe, potentially. I'm not so sure that they can maintain these levels. I think you brought up a poignant point about Semenyo. He's the number one target for a lot of teams, especially in the Premier League. And I could see him, even if he doesn't move in January, we can see his head being turned. Sometimes it can just disrupt a player's flow. And I think Semenyo, there's a risk of that happening. And so for me, I'm picking them to finish out of Europe. What about you?
Difficult one. I mean, I would like to see finish in the European place. It would be difficult because you do expect that some of the bigger teams will start to get it together. So for them to maintain this form would be difficult, but it wouldn't surprise me if they end up in European place.
Agreed. Now, when we talk about risers, we have to talk about Aston Villa. This is a team that started out, I don't think they scored a goal in their first 3 or 4 games, and all of a sudden they are 8th in the table. I think they've won 4 out of their last 5 games, and they drew the game before that. So undefeated in at least 5 matches here in the Premier League. We see Unai Emery somehow finding a way to get results with a team that is really decimated versus last season. When you think about the power that they had, offensive power with Rashford, Asensio, and others, no longer with the team, but somehow they've found a way to get results. This is a team that did pretty well in the Champions League. Were knocked out by PSG last season. Do you see them as a team that would get a good for what they've done so far? Fair, given where they were last season and the players that they lost? I'm a little bit torn.
Well, they have a little bit of momentum now. They beat City last weekend, but I always expect more from Aston Villa. I think Unai Emery is obviously a top caliber manager, but the last seasons have been difficult for Villa. They haven't met my expectations. I think their recruitment is definitely an issue. For some reason, they just can't bring in top quality players on a permanent basis. They bring in players on loan. So there's always a turnover of players, and that's not a sustainable system. I don't know about Villa this season. I think Morgan Rogers, I don't see him returning to the form that he was in last season. Ollie Watkins doesn't look like the player he was for the past seasons. I'm going to give them a fair. I'm not sure. I think they'll do a decent job this season, but I think they've fallen off from the heights that they were before. And yeah, I'll give them a fair.
I think a fair is fair, given that they were a Champions League side last season. So we can't stop this segment about risers without a quick mention about Sunderland, a newly promoted team, and they're sitting in 4th place. just to give them a shout, not necessarily going to grade them, but we have to acknowledge what they've done so far this season.
Yeah, Granit Xhaka, former Arsenal captain at the helm, pulling the strings, running the show, showing that he's still a top-class player, a leader, and yeah, congrats to Sunderland.
So for them, a grade of great, maybe. I said I wasn't going to grade them, but great. But I absolutely don't see them finishing in a European place this season.